Hello, this is Bernadette Tix, School of St. George, Anchorage. I'm just recording a very quick and dirty, informal video response to a series of videos Ed Wells sent me about Posta de Fenestra. Apologize for the poor lighting and see if I can change the focus here a little, make it a little better. There we go. I'll be adjusting this camera. I'm just on a webcam right now. I intend to make a better series of videos in the future, but I just got excited and had to respond right away. So I am using a somewhat smaller sword than we normally would use, but it's just because I'm indoors, and if I use a regular longsword, I'll knock everything in my room around. Okay, so Fenestra. So first of all, Ed, I think you're doing some really good things that I really agree with. So let me adjust this down so you can see the feet. Hopefully my headphones are picking up everything I'm saying. So I really like that you have the sword on the same side as the bent knee. That is what Fiore shows. So this, with the other leg forward, is not at least how it's shown in the post-day section, which is what we normally teach. It is definitely shown here. Now, you could argue whether it's a cross or whether it's ready to thrust at somebody. This is an excellent withdrawn position to thrust from. What I have found is in sparring, it actually matters less than it seems like it would, because you end up in the position you end up in, and that'll be sort of diagonal as you go back into this. And whether you want to thrust or whether you want to come across, it is the slightest of motion to be in one position or the other. So I think you're doing that very well. I have a couple of notes. So the first would be pretty much just about Fenestra Sinestra. So if this is Fenestra, what is Fenestra Sinestra, right? So this is actually a trick question. In the Getty, Fenestra Sinestra is not shown. It is not shown in the post-day section. Pull up the Getty, do it on Wichtenhauer, do it on Pocket Armazarde. If you have a copy of it, look through. It's not there. There are certain points in the text where Fenestra Sinestra is implied, and I think it's a very good technique. I am not at all opposed to teaching this position. I think it's an excellent position for a number of things, but it's at least worth noting it is not shown. Now, if you look at some of the others, if you look at the PD, for example, there a Fenestra Sinestra is shown, but it's not this. Fenestra Sinestra is shown, and it's here. And normally we would call this what? Posta de donna la Sinestra. Why would Posta de donna la Sinestra and Posta de Fenestra la Sinestra be interchangeable, potentially? Well, our argument here is that if you're in Fenestra and you just perform, as you said, the volta stabile, I think you're doing that perfectly. Volta stabile and shift which knee. Watch this. Oh, that's where you naturally end up. Oh, that's it. If you just don't move your arms and you just move your body, that's where you end up. And in fact, if you think that going across is okay, it would be the same thing, just, in front or behind. Fenestra, posta de donna. So I think that's very much worth thinking about. Now, I actually normally would not transition between these two stances from a cross. What you're showing is as essentially doing a Krumpau. I don't see that in the manuscript, and I could be convinced, but I don't see that in the manuscript. I love Krumpau. Krumpau's great, but I don't see it in Fiore. If you wanted to transition from one side to the other with the point on, as you discussed in one of your videos, I agree it's sort of not great to keep it tight like this. I would transition through longa or bicorno. Because if you want to keep that point on, keep the point on. I mean, that's really all there is to it, right? Point on retracted, thrust, retreat, thrust, retract. That's how I would do it. Also, an excellent thing to do from frontale, right? If you're sitting in your frontale, dipping into a quick bicorno, oh no, I've been attacked. You know, boom, boom. So those would be my main notes, I think, about Fenestra. You can use it to defend against a high strike. You know, you have somebody who really wants to throw that Shiedelhau in high. This will work. Arguably, Frontale may be better, but sometimes Fenestra is just more reliable. Would I normally raise Fenestra this high? No, but if somebody's throwing something that requires that high of a guard, Fenestra would be one of my go-to positions. So rather than chopping like this in Fenestra, I think I'm more inclined to either thrust through or transition through Frontale. Because I think Frontale is one of our really strongest guards. It's where all of play 6 happens from. It's where lots of good things happen from Frontale. If you can get a Frontale engagement, you're ready to do all of your techniques. So from here, go smoothly. Now this is similar, right? Because you're doing this, but I would say really emphasize that Frontale, boom, that you're going through, or really ideally, you know, the thrust. If I'm going from one Fenestra to another, it's usually in the thrust. And I don't think I would normally do it tactically, to be honest. These are more positions that they're instabile positions. I would transition to them when necessary. So perhaps I'm in a cross, an encrosa, and I don't like it, and there's an attack coming in at me, and I'm going to, retract out of it into Fenestra, or I'm going to retract out of it into Fenestra so that I can bring my own attack to bear. Normally, I don't think I'm going back and forth between the two very much at all. The other thing I would encourage you to look at, and this is also in the document I sent you, is thinking about the Mazzoni strike. So Fiore says that a Mazzoni is struck with the true edge when you swing from the right, and that it is struck with the false edge when you swing from the left. This sort of confused me because I think the normal way people want to swing is true edge either way. But that's not what he says. He says true edge from the right, false edge from the left. At first I thought possibly he meant as workout, but this turns out to be precisely the opposite. That would be a false edge from the right, true edge from the left. So it's not that. It's essentially this motion, which makes me think of the penguin of peril, as we teach on the first day. Nobody's going to actually swing like this, but if you're up on your Posta di Donna or Fenestra, but Posta di Donna is going to be easier, and you swing and you swing like this. You're swinging through frontale, or you can drop the point and swing through longa. But it works really well through frontale, and in fact, this is now our preferred response to a fendente, is to swing Mazzoni in this motion with the point raised into frontale, right into bicorno. Perfect, motion. Perfect play one from this. Boom, I find you open. He says, I never found anybody open. If you read play one, that's what he says. I make the cross, I traverse, I find you open, strike you in the hand, strike you in the chest. Never worked for me because it's too slow. Because you have to take a big step to get that angle, and they're going to step with you. You do this, boom, boom, boom. Try it. It works. So in that light, when you're doing your Fenestras, you have that potential motion as well. Uh, so, and bearing in mind the relation, of course, between Fenestra and Posta di Donna, because when you actually have the proper knee bent, they are actually very close to one another. So this could just be a more forward position for those same sorts of motions. I hope that made sense. I feel like I've been talking too long, but I hope this was insightful, and I hope the video helped, and I hope the audio got picked up. Thanks very much for making my evening.